people are actually really good gamers, but they do not get the same opportunity presented to them the same way we are. For example, in Singapore, if we were to host like local game tournaments, only the locals could participate in it because we would have gained knowledge of it. And for them, they would have never ever heard of it. But blockchain gaming is actually, because of its nature, has opened up the network so wide, cast so wide, that people all over the world actually know of all these events. The big ones, right, where they can cover half your screen, you're like, wow.
It's like Snorlax or whatnot.
Yeah. One of them, I think, is a fire dragon in Illuvium. I can't remember the name.
Renfire.
Yeah, Renfire, right? I can imagine seeing like a huge dragon covering it.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a pixie monster.
Okay, welcome guys. This is Promise Your Fireside Chat. It's episode 2. We actually had an earlier conversation today, but right now we actually have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Marcus, aka Revenant. Today we have him on board to share about a new game that came out in the blockchain recently, one that we talked about in our previous episode quite a bit. It's Illuvium. I think Marcus actually has been a pro gamer for quite a while now already. Have
Over 10
a lot
years.
of a lot of achievements, right?
Yep.
Maybe you want to share a bit of yourself and some of the games that you've played before.
Yep. So I'm Marcus Tan. I'm most known as Revenant in the gaming world. I have been representing Singapore and competing in tons of games for over 10 years. Most known in Warcraft 3, Starcraft 2, Heroes of the Storm, and Overwatch. And also, during the last 3 years, I played a bit of Dota Analogs, and I won like a Singapore tournament and a Southeast Asia tournament for that as well. So yeah.
So we can tell why he's in love with Illuvium is clearly his love for
definitely.
auto chess or strategy games even, right?
Strategy games in general.
In general.
So yeah.
I think you have a lot of credentials. Oh my god, we should probably flash that. Make sure that we should link some of the some of his achievements later. What about what do you do on a day-to-day basis on top of like gaming essentially?
So right now I'm working as a software engineer in DBS itself. I do data analytics and I mostly do software engineering work. And off work I play games with my girlfriend. So yeah, we stay together and we play Lost Ark, we play like Don't Starve together and a lot of casual games, and we're just like gamers by blood. So yeah, we just do a lot of things game related together.
Yeah,
Very cool. Very
I
cool.
think many will be jealous and envious
Yes,
of having
for sure, 100%. That's the dream, right?
that's the dream, having a girlfriend who does the same hobbies
For
as you.
most of us normies, is always a balancing act, right?
I wouldn't know, but how about you? Does your girlfriend play games?
She does a little bit, but not as much as I sometimes tend to do. So for me, as I was mentioning, usually it's I'm having to balance my desire to play games versus her desire to interact.
I see. Yeah, I see. Okay.
Must be hard.
I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it is, but I'm still alive, so that's a good thing.
For now.
So you want to talk about want to introduce Illuvium. I think Jared was our first point of contact with Illuvium. Maybe you want to share a bit about the game we're going to discuss today before we hand it to Marcus.
Yeah, so I think Marcus could probably go through the specifics of it. But basically, for those that don't know, it's an auto chess game. So if you've heard of Dota, Underlords, Atomic Wars, I think it's called.
Yep.
Autochess at one point it was called. Sorry, I think it was Dota.
Autochess is the first original version of all the chesses.
And then there was some sort of legal.
So League of
issue.
Legends has TFT, Teamfight Tactics, and then there's MLBB Autochess as well on their mobile version.
Oh, I didn't know
so
that
there's
one.
actually a lot of variations of it.
Even Hearthstone has it, the card
Yeah,
game.
correct.
I
So
see,
Hearthstone
I
has
see, I
Hearthstone
see.
Battleground as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's actually like more played than Hearthstone itself, Hearthstone standard mode and rank mode.
Yeah. I heard that's why it's kind of declining actually. The Hearthstone itself is declining, but anyway. So that's the genre of the game, and in terms of blockchain, I think this is probably be the first auto chess game in the Web3 blockchain kind of space, and that's very interesting because it's not just an auto chess battler, but they are also doing a bit of an open world kind of play here, where you have a almost Pokemon style, navigate yourself in an open world game, and you would try and catch what they call Illuvials, which is your Pokemons basically, the equivalent of that. So that's kind of what the game is all about. But maybe Marcus, you can elaborate a bit more about the features that interest you the most.
So the original idea was actually what you say is true. They actually were inspired by Pokemon itself. They even explicitly state that our childhood was all about Pokemon, and we wanted to also imitate such an experience for other people as well. So the first batch of Illuvias that were released, they also said that they're gonna be explicit and say there's 150 Illuvias. So like actually
Yep.
matching the first 150 Pokemon that we all know and love.
Yeah.
And then that is the open world concept, and you're gonna go around in like a immersive 3D, or even like it feels too HD to be actually like a blockchain game in the first place. To try and pull more traditional gamers in, because when we think of blockchain right now and blockchain games right now, we think that the technology behind it is not as good as traditional games like maybe like say Lost Ark or even like Blizzard games like StarCraft or Warcraft or whatever not. So essentially, this is the game and the company that I am looking forward to actually revolutionize the GameFi world itself. So yeah.
I'm sure it's actually more difficult because imagine building a traditional game already takes a few years, right?
Yep.
Adding an additional layer of complexity such as blockchain definitely makes things a bit more difficult for sure, right?
Yep.
On top of that, now they have to bother about things like tokenomics,
Yeah.
where in the past was less relevant, but still relevant, but now it's one of the predominant like factors that people look at.
Yeah, especially in this space, right? Because people usually enter crypto to earn money.
Mm.
So
But I've seen Illuvium gameplay, and I am pretty certain that they are trying to develop something that is going to be really fun. Even the graphics itself, I think they put a lot of effort into both modes. I actually haven't tried. I don't know if it's available yet.
Not
The
available.
Pokemon catching mode.
oh,
not
they actually
available
did.
yet.
They released a
They
teaser
had a
video.
trailer on it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I saw
Yeah.
it. Hey, graphics look good.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a single open world thing, but I did see some female characters gliding around like mountains, the
Correct.
alleys and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I think there's a that was the old one. There's a bit more, bit more updated.
Right.
But it's similar anyway. But yes, it looks like it's a single player thing. If I'm not
Correct.
wrong. I
For
don't
now
think
it
it's
is. So what they told us, or what we know so far, that Overworld is gonna be like a single player thing, and you actually need to buy tickets to go into the Overworld. So there are 7 regions in Illuvium, Illuvium world itself,
Mhm.
and you probably. Or not you probably, but you will have to choose like what region you want to go in and buy the ticket to go in. So because there are so many types of Illuvias itself, like
Yep.
fire types and
Yep.
rock types. So people would go into different terrains, expecting to catch a certain type of Illuvian rather than pure RNG. You go
Yep.
in, you want to catch like a fire, like you want to catch a ram fire, but end up you meet some water Pokemon or
Yeah.
some water Illuvia. Then
Yeah.
you're like, what is going on even?
Yeah.
So yeah,
And in a sense, it's very similar to how Pokemon games actually play, right?
Correct.
When you kind of navigate the waters in a Pokemon game, you expect to see water type Pokemons, and so on and so forth. That the terrain changes, you will see different types of Pokemon as
Correct. So the founders themselves actually touched base on this. They said like their inspiration for this kind of mechanics is because they want it to feel like opening a Pokemon card pack. When you buy a Pokemon card pack, like maybe you buy a fire type card pack,
Yep.
you're expecting fire energy
Yep.
and fire Pokemon inside.
Yep.
And essentially they're translating it to a blockchain version of it.
Yep.
And I think it's so cool. Like maybe you might meet a rare Illuvia, maybe if you're unlucky, you'll just be meeting a lot of common ones or a lot of
Yep.
repeated ones. Then yeah, it just sucks to be you for that moment. So yeah.
I did try playing Pokemon Arceus recently. Not I haven't bought the game, but I tried it on my friends.
Oh, right. One of the newer versions.
Correct.
Of it, right.
And
Correct.
one of the similarities that I think might be very interesting is being able to see the Pokemon in the wild, like moving around,
Correct.
flying around, right?
Correct.
And the graphics of Illuvia, this seem to depict some sort of that kind of
Correct. So it's like an open world. Open world concept has been a very popular trend in the gaming world itself. They want people to see things like, I think in Pokemon itself, we have always wanted as a kid, like when we walk through grass, we want to actually be able to see the Pokemon, then
Yep.
walk towards the Pokemon and actually engage it. But that is not possible until they created Pokemon Arceus itself, which is like open world, and you can actually interact with the Pokemon before even capturing it or fighting it.
Yeah.
So I think that is a lot of inspiration behind, and that is a lot of fun that we can get into.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially to see the big ones, right? Where they can cover half your screen. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like Snorlax or whatnot.
Yeah.
One of them, I think, is a fire dragon in Illuvia. I can't remember the name.
A Ramfire.
Yeah, Ramfire, right? I can imagine seeing like a huge dragon covering the
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a big sea monster.
That'll be definitely very, very cool. I mean, I used to play a lot of Monster Hunter World. And there's nothing quite like seeing such a big kind of monster come off, over the cliff, flying down is scary.
Yeah.
But it adds to the gameplay experience for sure, 100%.
Immersion, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think Illuvium, sorry, is trying to do something really special here. And as Blanca touched on it a little bit, blockchain gaming in general, I wouldn't say not so much the technology is not quite up to par. I think the standard of games in general is just not quite up to par yet. And I think Illuvium is really I keep calling it Illuvio, but Illuvium is actually really trying to bring the standards up again.
Right.
So that's I'm looking forward to it, because I think one of the biggest problems we think exists now in the space is that there isn't really yet. I mean, I've come to contact a lot of different kind of gaming projects that are currently building. They're not out yet, but none of the existing games are really quite fun, and I probably wouldn't touch it. As a traditional gamer, I probably wouldn't touch it. If there wasn't that kind of incentive to earn money through it, I probably wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
But Illuvium could probably be my first kind of point of contact into the Autochess genre, because I've not played Autochess before, but looks interesting.
Speaking of Autochess, since it's the game mode that it's out already, and something you are the most familiar with, why don't you talk about some of the, in general, what are some of the Autochess features that you think is like, why do people like Autochess?
I think Autochess in itself, compared to a lot of other games, serves a wider audience, in a sense that a lot of people think of competitive games as those you need like fast reflexes. You must have fast APM like in StarCraft or Warcraft.
Yeah.
Like without it, or even like fast reflex like Valorant. But without it, you can't be ever a good gamer, and you will just keep losing. And nobody likes losing after all. So Autochess gives this version where it's just very chill. It's basically like chess itself. Like you're literally playing chess, but it's a more advanced version of it with a lot more elements to figure out. And like each chess piece has a unique ultimate or unique skill set to interact with another chess piece on the board itself. So if you think about it, I think it appeals to a lot of the older audience as well, like those in their 30s and above. And it doesn't limit. The player and the gamer themselves doesn't feel limited by his lack of ability, in a sense, or his lack of reflexes.
Yep.
So
reaction time and all these things.
Correct. So that is like probably a big inspiration of why a lot of people will want to dig into Autochess itself. And it's even for like young kids, people, they just want to think. And a lot of people, like when you're young, you start off strategy games with like chess, Chinese chess, checkers, international chess and whatnot. And I think you also pull a lot of those young crowds to come in. Part of what this game does is it allows you to strategize and think and look back of what your mistakes are and or how to play better the next game itself. So yeah.
I do think that games itself, like Autochess, actually has a more relaxing pace to it.
Precisely.
You feel like you can take your time. You're not like pressured too much to reflex.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think the learnability is there also. You know,
Yeah.
because I mean, essentially in Dota, you can't learn to be fast other than by being fast.
Yeah.
Correct. Other than like grinding repetition and training
like muscle
the character,
movement.
a lot, maybe like thousands of games of it. So
Yeah, it's exactly why Dota is so difficult, because on top of the game knowledge, which is so extensive already, you need these fast reflexes and reaction times to be able to play well. And I think Autochess is really appeals a bit more to the older crowd, so to speak. It's good.
You know, funny thing is, I wouldn't use the term ADHD, but you know, I sort of get very fidgety sometimes when I think. And sometimes I put Autochess on my secondary screen and just click brainlessly to just help calm my mind. No, it's quite funny. Like, I'll be on one hand like doing my work, and then when I'm thinking about it, I'll just click something just to prevent myself from fidgeting too much.
Right.
It's a calming factor or help me think factors. I don't know how it works, but it does give that element, especially when you're not competitive. Yeah, you're just a casual, right? I think a lot of people eventually, in their inroad to games, will actually look to Autochess as one of the starting points, like what you mentioned.
And like touching base on what you say, in terms of relaxation, I think for me as well, I've played like Hearthstone Battleground for over like 1 or 2 years, and like it's just something to help me relax. Like I want a game that I can do not so much brainlessly, but it doesn't add any pressure if I lose or win that much. And like, you know, like I just want to chill after a long day of work.
Yeah.
I don't want to like think like, oh shit, or play like StarCraft 2, like, oh,
Yeah.
I have to control and sweat it out and like for like a straight 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And oh, if I lose, I feel bad, and then I want to go into another
Yeah,
game to
that's
win.
the thing. The
Yeah,
chasing
yeah.
that W after that.
Yeah,
The
correct,
revenge
correct.
W, yeah.
So yeah.
When I play Dota, it's one of the things we have. I'm sure all of you will be familiar with this.
One last
Tonight,
game.
one last
One
game.
last
yeah.
game.
If we don't win, no sleep.
Yeah, 100%.
So it becomes
100%.
from like 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. to 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just had a discussion with my gaming group of friends as well, just about this topic. I was like, no, I think we've really outgrown Dota this time. Like, we don't have the energy and the time to go and chase that W anymore.
If you lose, you just lose now.
Yeah.
Oh mate, you're not a gamer anymore.
Or I've just actually moved on. I play
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, different genres, right?
Yeah, exactly. RPGs in specifically, but Autochess, like I said, is something that I'm interested in, especially if there's an opportunity to earn a bit of money on the side.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of what blockchain brings to it. Not necessarily only blockchain games can do it, but I think they facilitate it the best.
Yeah.
For now at least. I'm also
And I guess I think touching base on the money thing, I think the monetization of blockchain is also very interesting because like when we are growing up, especially from Asian families, we always think that, oh, your parents will tell you that, hey, don't play game, you can't earn money from it. You don't play game is a waste of time.
No
But
future.
now when you're growing up, you can tell mom, hey, look, mom, I'm actually earning something from playing games. Yeah, it might not be a lot. It might be like maybe like the same amount of money you earn from doing McDonald's an hour, but at the very least you're doing something with it and you actually enjoy it and it's your passion, and it's something that I think every kid that loves playing games will like grow up be, and that applies to me as well. Like when I was growing up, all I ever wanted to do was just to earn money from and earn, like not make a living, but like be able to live through, I wouldn't say day, but be able to like pay my uni fees and be able to like have good meals on a time-to-time basis, while all while gaming itself. And I think I'm one of the more fortunate people to have went down the path of professional esports and be like so blessed to have this opportunity. So in a sense, right now, when traditional esports are also growing and there's a lot more acceptance everywhere, I think it's much more easier for people to want to chase such a career or such a path in their life if they so choose to.
I actually like that topic because in our earlier Fireside Chat, we were talking about how gaming is being more accepted slowly in, a norm compared to like traditional sports. Like today, if I was really good at soccer, I'm a soccer captain. I'll be proud to tell my friends, post it on Facebook. But if I'm like immortal in Dota, for example, I'm not sure if I'll get the same kind of recognition in the space. But who's to denote which one is the more worthy achievement? Like I think it's equally hard to be really good in Dota. Even more so might be difficult because there are so many things. Like in soccer, the goal is easy to like imagine, but in Dota, there's so many factors. Be it your own skill versus like your team combination versus your opponent. It's less predictable. I'll put it this way. There's a lot of factors.
And that you need a lot of critical thinking in Dota and playing any other game as well. Like I think critical thinking is something that a lot of people train by playing games itself, and you can't learn it on like outside skill sets or like even like at work itself. So yeah.
That's true. We were talking about learning economics in our previous session, which also leads me to talking about I wonder how like Illuvium, how they eventually, I think they had a LAN sale recently.
Yes.
That is actually something we wanted to talk about because for a while, I mean, these two games in the traditional space have no LAN integration, right? Pokemon Go doesn't have LAN. Pokemon Go is like catching Pokemon. Autochess has its own features as well. But how does LAN come into it? And what do you think about this inclusion?
I think LAN is a very interesting thing that a lot of people are interested in the blockchain metaverse itself, because people want to feel like they own something virtually, and they want to feel like they own something that belongs to them and helps them to progress with the game itself. So how Illuvium introduced LAN itself is LAN itself will provide a lot of different resources, in-game resources for you, similar to I think the best similarity I can draw right now in modern context is how Lost Ark has a stronghold, and then you can go back and you can mine resources, which helps you to play your character even further or progress your character even further. So in Illuvium's case itself, you can get fuel, and those fuel will help you to play more, and you can get shards, which helps you to catch more Illuvials itself.
Okay.
Yep.
So all these resources add up to a player's progress, and they will always give. They ultimately they said they're gonna give everyone a tier 0 LAN, which means that you are at the very least going to be able to have some free LAN, but that free LAN itself won't allow you to access their Illuvium DDEX, where you can sell resources and exchange resources. And I think that is something that people want as well. So the whole LAN concept is a very, very big topic, where if you don't want to play the Autochess version, if you just want to play the LAN version, or like the Farmville kind of playstyle, you can actually do that. So like let's say you're a couple and your girlfriend prefers playing Farmville while you prefer playing Autochess itself. You can pass the LAN to her. She could be helping you to mine resources every 3 hours or 4 hours, and then when the resources are done, she can pass it to you. Or she could even be mastering like the economics of Illuvium itself. Like, or maybe like fuel prices went down today.
Yep.
She can be the one buying all those fuel up to sell it tomorrow at a higher price. And it's so much real life skills involved that you just kind of think like it's a very, very cool thing to do.
Yep.
So yeah.
I think that's how maybe even organizations might work. If you watch like shows like King Avatar, whereby maybe the organization will manage the economic resources part of it, the allocation and going into these games, and then the players just focus on literally winning, just
Yeah,
like
literally on their own skill
Yeah.
set.
like I need this Illuvio, help me get it, and then the guild
Yeah.
will like pool resources.
I mean,
for
it makes sense, right? To have that kind of relationship between the player and the guild, or the scholar and the guild, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it makes sense to have that relationship. I think the other thing that's quite interesting as well with LAN. Actually, there are a lot of critics about it that add no real value, and that's a fair thing for some of the games. It's really doesn't really add too much utility. But I think Illuvium has really integrated how LAN plays a part in the whole gaming ecosystem, almost to the point where I think if it's without LAN, the game wouldn't function because you wouldn't have fuel. So that's a really good way to add use case and utility to the LAN. But also in the sale itself, if I'm not wrong, profits of the LAN sale goes back to actually the token holders.
the ILV holders.
Correct.
Yes, correct.
Correct. So what they said that the 30 million that they raised from the first land sale,
Yeah.
they will use it to buy back Illuvium,
Yeah.
and then they'll use it to redistribute to those that have staked Illuvium itself. So actually, all 100% of revenue distribution is all distributed back to the users themselves. The developers, the dev team themselves, they don't get a cut from it. So that is actually it's so cool. Like the whole revenue distribution is back to the ecosystem itself. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which really rewards like real early adopters and believers of this of the project, which is really cool, and it's something quite unique to
We have
not
to
just
see,
Illuvium,
actually.
but in blockchain in general, blockchain games and projects and stuff like that. It's quite
I do remember when we first bought a little bit into Illuvium, one of the, I think, tweets or one of his threads or something, he did mention that in the future, regardless of any game that the company builds itself, all of these dividends and rewards will eventually go back to LV holders. Just doesn't have to be just Illuvium. So I mean, that was the actual sell. Like why I bought into a little bit of ILV at the start, even before the game came out.
Yep.
So I guess they're honoring their word.
Yeah.
But I didn't stick ILV, so not sure how to feel about this. Like,
yeah. I mean, can't blame you, right? There's so many things. There's so many different projects, and honestly, if you believe in a diverse kind of portfolio, anyways, if you're an investor, you're gonna buy quite a few coins, promising ones, and there are a good number of promising ones. It's quite hard to keep track of the progress of every one of them.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're gonna forget to do this, forget to do that, and
this NFA, DYOR. Right?
yeah.
We are not financial advice.
No,
We're not.
for
We're
sure.
not. But
sure.
we do have our own hot takes on certain projects that we really like. And we also believe another thing is that the token prices do not necessarily determine how good a game is. I mean,
sure.
there are other market conditions, right?
Yep.
Like, I mean, in the bear market, if you're shooting up, potentially you're one of the very rare few cases that are really, really good. But that doesn't mean that those whose prices are falling are bad. It's just it might be normalizing. We wouldn't know.
Yep.
I'm no financial expert.
Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of different factors going on as well. And I think one point that needs to be pointed out also is actually that as far as tokenomics go, a lot of people think it's once it's launched like this, that's it. It's immutable, but it's not. Tokenomics is actually something that can be tweaked and needs to be tweaked. Like emissions can be tweaked. Token sinks can be new token sinks can be introduced, new features can be introduced, which will help with pricing, right? And it comes back down to kind of that continuous development of a game, which you already see anyways in Web 2 games. So I think the challenge here is a lot of times these Web 3 games, the teams behind them didn't actually start out as a gaming kind of company, and I think that's where some of these people struggle. They don't actually know how to continuously develop a game and to keep it alive and to tweak all these things. And so picking the right ones is where
Gamers can shine through,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, be able to see that.
I think for Illuvium, especially for Marcus, one of the main thing is because of its complexity. I think some people might find, even though the graphics is very cool and appealing and everything, might be difficult to enter. What is one tip or maybe something you could share to people who are looking at Illuvium and they want to try but they don't know how to? What would some tips be if you were to engage beginners, for example?
So like a few tips I will go is how I always learn through professional gaming is always imitate the best until you are the best. Then start deviating from there. So like for Illuvium itself, it's a purely strategy game. So what you can do is you can look at all the pro players and what they do in the future. Like let's say if they do stream Twitch, more of it when there are more functions out and when PvP modes comes out in private beta too, we can always look into that as well and how people do what they do. Then when we see what they do, we can also ask ourselves like why do you think they do this action? Like why did he put a tank unit at the back of his range units, for example, and like you can derive answers for yourself. So like in Autochess, there are a lot of different types of chess pieces, but the general ones, there will be range units, there will be tanks, and then there will be assassins, rogues, units that jump behind to the back line of your opponent. So you can also derive, you can probably derive that, so he put that one tank unit to fight the assassin from jumping back, or the rogue from jumping back, instead of hitting your own range unit.
I see.
So, yeah.
I see.
So analysis of like people's gameplays is probably one of the best ways to learn.
Okay. What would you if today Jared wants to play Illuvium?
Yes.
What is the one advice you will give Jared?
I would say ask questions, ask a lot, and also learn from people that are more experienced and get their so if I were to teach Jared, he could just ask me and I would say like, how about you stream again and you watch me play for one game and then ask me of any thought process that you want to know, and then in return the next game you will be the one playing it and you will be telling me what went wrong or why do you think you're placing this unit here or whatnot. So
Tips from a professional gamer.
Yes.
I think we will start soon and then we'll record and
yeah,
we will definitely do Promisphere plays one day and we will definitely laugh with each other about it. And then
I think
Marcus'
that'll be
voice
cool.
at the back. Hey
sure.
Jared, put the tank behind. I told you so.
Yeah.
and like for sure, like you talk about Promisphere play, but actually there's also this whole idea of why Autochess is also good. Or much better than others is because it's very coachable kind of game. Like you can literally coach someone with no knowledge of auto chess into someone good. Like heck, when I started Illuvium the first day, I had zero knowledge and there were like guilds out there willing to teach me, and I catalyzed. I managed to hit like rank 1 in like 3 days time, all because there were people teaching me all the instinctive knowledge and all the wisdom that I would have never figured out if I played the game for like even for a month or two. So like I think having a community, and which is what like all blockchain is about, having a community to support you and everything is so much more important than being a strong solo player. So yeah.
One thing that's very unique about Illuvium is a good unique feature about them, although not necessarily unique feature of blockchain games in general, is the idea of a DAO, a governing DAO body. I don't know if you've read much about that. Have you at all?
Yeah, so actually the DAO in Illuvium is also pretty strong itself. It's part of the idea, it's part of the reason why I really like how they're going to approach with doing a DAO. So in terms of like since I'm a gamer myself, in terms of game balancing and everything, like if I played traditional games like Warcraft, Starcraft itself, the whole balancing would be set up by Blizzard. If they think that this unit is doing too much in terms of statistics, they will just nerf it. If they think it needs buff, they just buff it. But when you come to a DAO, there is actually a voting mechanism where there's a democracy. There's the majority will actually vote for, do you think, for example, Fire needs to be nerfed at the moment? If the majority votes no, then it's no. Like you don't get to balance it. The dev team can't override and say no, I don't think your opinion is correct anymore. So yeah, so that's very wonderful. But when it comes to traditional Web 2 games, even if everyone made noise, sometimes the dev won't listen at all. And some of the change don't go through. So yeah, and it's a very frustrating part of competitive gaming in general, where dev teams don't listen to their professional gaming base or the competitive gaming base.
I actually, speaking of this community, I actually follow and thanks to Revenant, I actually got Kieran, if you're watching this, Kieran wanted to follow us on Twitter, and ever since I've been putting his notifications on to see when he tweets. I think one of the rare few founders in the project in the space, he is one of them that actually follows and talks about his community. Like, for example, I'm sure one of the communities you have interacted with is Illuvio Master. In fact, he recently did a poll on Info Illuvio and Illuvio Master, and he's basically trying to look out for like community efforts to actually help his project. So the project founder is not like, we can do everything. He's very well aware that the community can actually help boost the project forward, if not even further than originally. He talks to individual players. I think he even looks out for like artists who help him do fan art and stuff like that. He is literally the spirit, of like how Web3 inclusion is. And I don't know if this is a rumor. I definitely heard this somewhere last year over a podcast or something. But I think he was voted out of, I think the DAO or one of the proposals of the DAO. And he's like, yeah, sure. You know, if this is for the betterment of the game, yeah, why not? And such movements actually inspire, I think, competitive gamers like you. It's like the willingness to, step out of their boundary to think that they're all-knowing, almighty, and to accept the fact,
Yep.
some people have better opinions, some people have better suggestions,
Yep.
some people can do better than you, and you accept that.
Yep.
I
And you
mean-
got to empower these people.
And he empowers them well. He notices, So of course, as project like founders, myself and my previous co-founder from the previous series, we also aspire and look to be like that. Hopefully, we get somewhere close. Someday inspiring. We want to be like that as well. I just wanted to tap on the community side of things. There are also some factors that I like about Illuvium. So, Illuvium, essentially, as an auto chess game, right, has actually sparked a lot of interest, not just within gamers, actually. When Illuvium came out, a lot of my Pokemon Go friends also started talking about this. And one thing that we mentioned in our previous Fireside Chat, right, was the inclusion of like the different components of people playing, not just gamers.
Demographic.
The different demographics.
Yeah.
I lost that word for a moment. Do you think that Illuvium would be able to break into like a different demographic aside professional gamers?
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be honest, with how Illuvium is turning out, I think there'll be a lot more casual gamers and a lot more people that want to play for fun than the competitive side itself. Because ultimately, Illuvium is not just about like 1v1 itself. Like, I would think that there will be a lot of people that wants to go around catching Illuvials all day long. And there'll be a lot of people that just wants to play like the Farmville part of Illuvium itself, Illuvium 0, which is the land side.
Yep.
And to be honest, like I also kind of I myself also kind of like the Illuvium 0, which is the land side itself, because like I was StarCraft player, so I like building things and maximizing the EV and like maximizing the resources that comes out of it. And like I will spend like hours trying to derive like what is the proper output I should be getting, and like how can I maximize the output of another building's resource, and all this, like when I actually do get it right, I feel a sense of accomplishment lah. So in that same sense also, there's a lot of people that would probably play this game just to feel happy about catching a certain Illuvium that they always wanted, or maybe like getting a bit of money from selling their resources from their land itself. So I do definitely think that this game encapsulates more than just one genre of gamers, which is auto chess players.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what would you say if let's say you could name two things? What do you think is two things that Illuvium could do to improve itself for like more gamers to come on board? Like if you had two suggestions for Kieran Warwick.
Well, I think that's a very, very tough question that I've never really thought about, because they do so many things well. Like they literally try and cover all bases as much as they can, and if they don't cover the bases, the community covers it for them. I think like probably what we want to know like is probably not just weekly updates of like the fan art of everything, but how the game is developing in terms of like gameplay itself. So like a lot of us casual and competitive gamers or whatnot, we want to know like how it's gonna feel like for PvP, because like for community gamers, we want to know like how PvP is gonna work, and like it will be good like maybe they can provide a weekly update or what they are doing with PvP, or like what is the progress, or like when can we not say expect PvP, but how can we know what PvP feels like? Because in a sense, auto chess was always built on a 1 versus 1 versus 1 versus 1, 8 times 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's literally 8 players fighting each other, and nobody knows like how it's gonna be done, of how a 1v1 auto chess will look like, or how it will feel like in the first place. Are they gonna cover like half the board with a fog of war in preparation stage, or are they gonna do X, or are they gonna do Y? So it will essentially be good to know like for those hardcore Illuvium fans, that they want to know like, how can we know this kind of knowledge, and if we know this kind of knowledge, we can actually plan like how Info Illuvium or Illuvium Masters plan out for their community. They essentially set a path of knowledge base for players even before the live game is actually out, so that people can actually strategize, or they can think like what we want to do. In a sense itself, Info Illuvium and Illuvium Masters actually like help us to evaluate like what kind of land we want to get. So for example, like for land sales itself, we know that Ram Fire is a very strong unit. We know that there are a lot of earth units like Sea Forest, or Titanium, they are actually good for their stats, because for C-Frost and for Titanium, you can game invulnerable for 4 seconds at the start of the board. So that's like imbar in a lot of games.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
And so we know what kind of land we're targeting. We know that we want to get Crimson Waste because of this kind of knowledge, of this kind of first-hand information. And essentially, like, if we know how the PvP is going to work out, we can know what kind of Illuviums and what kind of like augments we want to add into our deck in the future, and we can plan things out.
That's like the alpha caller right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I actually have one. I'm not sure if they are planning this, but like I think to get mass adoption for different genres, I mean they're planning 3 different genres essentially. They should have like a like iOS, I mean phone version or mobile version of the game in the future.
They actually do. So
They
they did state that Illuvium 0 itself will actually be iOS version.
Yep.
Yeah, the land version. So that's actually pretty cool.
Kind of
And-
similar
and-
to how Genobats is doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, I would think that most of the population these days, we can probably check that up, but that's what I think. It's on mobile gaming these days. That's why
Correct.
Mobile Legends, if you see like the Google Trends search, right, they actually are really high up in terms of downloads, etc. Even playability, player base wise. So I do
Correct.
hope for them to go there.
Correct. So the whole ideation of what I've heard from their past podcast is they kind of want to make it that you have a mobile version and you have a desktop version, so as to cater to your like literal lifestyle. So like you're off from work, you're going home, you probably spend like 30 minutes on a bus or on a cab back home. That's when you flip on your Illuvium 0, you mine your resources. When you reach home, oh look, you can actually start playing because you have the resources to play. And maybe like before you sleep, you can probably mine some more or change resources to the one you need the next day. So essentially it becomes like a gaming lifestyle, and I think it's pretty cool that if someone can make all their daily habits into like the game itself. Maybe someone would call it addiction, but to me I call it passion. So yeah.
Passion for sure.
The fine line. For sure.
Passion for sure.
I mean, I suppose kind of World of Warcraft kind of started this whole thing, right, with the WoW Companion app. I don't know if you heard of that one, but it's kind of like it's a similar concept where you have to do so you have followers in the game, and you would send them on missions, and when they complete missions, that's where you get rewards. So they enabled an app. So when they design an app, so when you can use that app to send them on missions, and then you will get rewards. There was an app. I don't know if it's still live or not. It was on, then they took it off, and I don't know if it's back on again or not.
I see.
That's a similar concept, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean,
interesting.
It's the most the best way to get people
Efficient.
to interact with you. You know, you don't lose touch. Okay, what kind of value do you think guilds or organizations bring to the space of like blockchain games, Illuvium in particular?
So I think when we think of guilds in the past, or like in Web2 space itself, we think of like a lot of people gathering, just having the same interests, having fun itself. I think Illuvium, in order to improve or get good in it, essentially, you can't just do it on your own. Like even from someone like me that has already played professional gaming for over 10 years, I don't think you can solo your way into the top ranks in Illuvium itself. So guilds itself provides you a lot of things, like maybe let's just say firstly knowledge transfer and a hive mind in a sense, or an overmind where you can all share all the different tricks that you learn from Illuvium. Like maybe a Vampire interacts very poorly with maybe like a sea forest, and you have X and Y reason, or why is it, and you would never know unless like you have encountered this interaction yourself, which could come after maybe hundreds of hours of gameplay, or you could have never known it until like a tournament day itself, and then you'll be like, oh, what the heck, dude, like why does this even happen? But with a guild itself, you know this on a much more efficient scale, and everyone's there. You have a lot more players, a lot more feedback, a lot more people talking about it as well. So yeah, and in this sense, guild also gives a lot of like social experience itself. I think that's what a lot of people want when they are gaming itself. Like you can't do gaming without social most of the time. Companies have failed. Like StarCraft 2 was first released to be highly competitive, no social aspects, no guild chat, no social chat, or except for whispers, and it kind of failed quite miserably until they decided to start adding guild and social aspect in the later iterations of StarCraft 2 itself. So essentially, social aspect is what people play games for, and then I guess to touch base on that also, people that are new to the game, when they join guilds, they can also learn from the more experienced one. Essentially, let's say like if Stanley decides to play Illuvium one day, I can go and teach him like, oh, I can tell you, oh, these are the things you should do. Maybe you should always place your Ramfire at the back of your army composition, and you would have never known this, like, or you could probably place like a unit that's good fighting a rogue. Like, so we have this Scorpion like unit that is good to fight rogues in the game. But a lot of people doesn't know that. A lot of people they don't know that. So they'll just put it at the front line, and then that unit just dies and does nothing. So they'll think like, oh, this unit is actually a shit unit. So they'll never pick it again. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So if I didn't have a guild, my only way is YouTube essentially. If there are any videos at all or people who are willing to share, I'm guess. If not, guilds play actually a more integral role in maybe social methods. And of course, I think Illuvium is one of the games I think we've been looking for a while. But as a company, we cannot be careless spending with our funding and everything.
For sure.
But we are definitely looking to acquire land since our company is more stabilized. I know a lot of Web3 companies that have taken a huge hit recently because I think a lot of them were very aggressive in their spending and potentially bought into a lot of projects that maybe didn't do too well in the bear market.
For sure.
Right. But I think as we go deeper into Illuvium, we're definitely looking to acquire some land that we want to. We've been talking about quite a lot lately. I think we're getting advice from you. I think for our community, if we were to form like a guild, whichever the term is, because to me it's just a collective of players who want to play games together. Right? Whether the monetary reward comes, I think gaming is always first priority. I think we can look to acquire some land together, and then we will do a series on that where we can even do the buying process. I think it will be quite fun because sometimes it's quite exciting. It's like, okay, I'm going to spend like $1,000. Yeah. We should do a series on that. I think we want to form something like that. I think for Marcus, we could even do the purchase together. We could even
for sure
be your resource guy.
So like
we're not good enough to be the player.
No, unfortunately not.
like I really like how you touch base about monetary aspects of guild as well, because we all know that Web3 games are barely free to play. Most of it has some transaction costs. So like what you say is kind of true essentially. Like guilds are also needed there to give scholarships to players. Or in this case, since Illuvium is not just about scholarship, it's also about resources itself, like fuel and shards. And a guild can be there, and it's actually quite an interesting model. I think they've thought this way through, because let's say you have a guild, you have like 5 land itself, and they're always mining resources. You can assign players, or even like scholars, if that's how scholars, and you can ask them to play the land version of it. Like every 3-4 hours, you change a different resource, and you can tell them what to do and whatnot. And if you don't have like competitive Illuvium players, that's fine. You can just sell those resources to the DDEX itself, Illuvium DDEX. And if you do have resources, that's where the guild comes into play. Because like if you're a hardcore Illuvium player, you want to just play like 10 hours a day, but you don't have the kind of means to do it, maybe because you just started the game, or you don't have the financial resources to do it. But if you have a guild itself that will support you, then that's a very different thing, because they are able to pull you more resources than what you can originally do by yourself itself. And that's one. And two is also, we do know in some aspects that Illuvium's logo in PvP is called Fight for ETH. So essentially, you will need some kind of ETH to be able to bet or to wager against your opponent. So essentially, how the gameplay will look in the highest form of rank will probably be like, oh, maybe one of us will bet like 0.1 ETH each, and the winner will get 0.2 ETH, and the loser will walk away with none. So essentially, you need this kind of resources that will come from guild. Maybe the guild can say that, oh, since we know that you have a good track record of maybe like 70% win rate, we can maybe like lend you like 0.5 ETH to go and wager off, and we can split the profits or whatever not. So essentially, then they have much more playing ground.
Right. I think this is the most interesting part, because if you didn't mention it, I might have let it slip my mind, is that the difference between what we see in like newer blockchain gaming, is that tentatively they try to steer a little bit further away from like play to earn and play earn. And I think maybe this might be the one right iteration about it. Today, it's like if you think about phone games like Rise of Kingdoms, the mobile game where you build castles and you fight war with one another. Actually,
Clash of Kingdoms?
Clash of Kingdoms, or Rise
Clash
of
Clans. Clash of Clans.
I forgot the name. But essentially, I think there are people who definitely cash into these games just for the sake of winning wars with one another. This one might be a bit interesting because essentially you're building something like that, but on top of that, you're actually funding real life players, not just fake armies in the game itself, to actually fight your war for you.
Yeah.
And you actually get to win something.
Yeah.
So in the aspect, right, there's always a winner and a loser. And this might be something more sustainable in the long term. Because if you think about like other games in blockchain currently, there's no outlet.
Yeah.
There's no everyone's just winning, right?
Yeah.
If everyone's winning, who's losing? Basically the token prices lose, right?
Correct. So I think what you're trying to say is play to earn essentially is unsustainable itself.
Yes.
And it has been long known that play to earn model is unsustainable because the token emissions will just keep falling and it will just
Exactly.
like exponentially rise and it will never be able to stabilize the input and output itself. So yeah, what you say is totally true. And I think like coming from a traditional Web 2 and a traditional esports background, I do think that Game 5 itself will eventually move to play and earn. Essentially, you have a chance to earn something, but it's not guaranteed.
Guaranteed, yeah.
And how this chance is earned is essentially based on your own skill base, which essentially adds to what gaming is all about. People play games to have fun, or they play games because they want to be better at the game itself. They want to improve. They want to improve their critical thinking, or they want to be better. Look, maybe I'm like the top leaderboard and everything. So essentially, this rewards those players with the tokenomics, with the tokens themselves, and it's kind of like a very good or very strong incentive for players and gamers itself. So yeah.
You know, based on that point, actually this opens up a very interesting paradigm, is that not only the top players can earn. Because essentially the wager can happen at any rank as long as there's a willing acceptor willing, alright.
To take the bait,
So it's like, I think it makes everything more interesting because now people can say that their time in game is valued.
Yeah.
Whether it's a loss. I mean, I always say this, if you ever go into a game and you have a draw, that's the worst outcome. Because if you lose, at least you learn something. If you draw, you feel like, oh damn. If you win, you gain something. So in both scenarios, for winning and losing, you gain something. Draw is like and with a financial element to it, that's actually something. You can take something or you learn a huge lesson for the next. So
I think there are more games kind of adopting this new model also of wagering. One that comes to my mind is Exaverse also. Exaverse is a 1v1 gladiator game. So gladiator arena game.
Okay.
Yep. And you will wager for money. So that's how you earn or lose. But it's a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
But it kind of hinge upon it almost touches, it's similar to kind of gambling in a sense. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to navigate the regulations.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But that could be another model for.
Yeah, it could be another model. I think in Singapore we're actually quite I would say prudent on such measures, especially with MAS tying on the reins recently. We'll see how Illuvium goes. I mean, end of the day, I think we would still try to participate. Since we want to be at the forefront of all gaming, GameFi related companies, etc. But we will still navigate within safe waters for sure.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other thoughts you would like to share about?
I think we have covered a lot of bases today. Like a lot of bases. Like maybe it's my turn to ask. Like how are you guys think you guys will be doing in the GameFi space in like 1 to 3 years time down the road?
Oh,
like,
okay.
Where do you see yourselves in?
So this is the reverse Fireside Chat.
Reverse.
Okay, so where do we see ourselves within 1 to 3 years? So, okay, I mean, my background, this one's for me to answer at the start, is that we actually created Promisphere based on a group of like gaming friends. And we literally wanted to just create a space whereby, one, we could have earn some money while playing games. We didn't necessarily think of it as like a huge money factor where we could like support our lives with it, right? But it was interesting because we gained access to actually the not so monetary side of the business, the more like philanthropic side of it. Not necessarily because we are philanthropy, it's just that it so happened to be and it feels good, right? Is that we could help our friends in neighboring countries. Now, these people are actually really good gamers, but they do not get the same opportunity presented to them the same way we are. For example, in Singapore, if we were to host like local game tournaments, only the locals could participate in it because we would have gained knowledge of it. And for them, they would have never ever heard of it. But blockchain gaming is actually because of its nature has opened up the network so wide, cast so wide, that people all over the world actually know of all these events. Example of a recent one is that if you think about NFT and blockchain, the one most recent incident is NFT NYC. You don't have to be an NFT to like even scroll through on Twitter. You don't even have to be a part of the project to know that it's happening. And I think that's one of the beauties of like NFT in general. Now, how do you attach it to gaming? As a company, when we started, like I mentioned, we created this because of like friends and everything. When it became a philanthropic effort, of course, we expanded on it. So one, that we could definitely earn a bit more pocket money on our side. Two, is to give more opportunities. But what we saw very quickly in the space is that we knew that this model was not sustainable. And we then realized there's two things that the market actually lacks. One is that even no matter how fun blockchain gaming becomes, okay, no matter how fun it is, as long as there are too many barriers, the filtration process will still occur. Which means if I have to play Illuvium and I have to go through like the cost of like verifying my wallet for KYC so I can buy into crypto, so I can buy into ETH, then I can buy into Illuvium, and then I have to go and find out what Illuvium to buy, I'm not going to do it. Sure. No matter how fun it is, right? And as a company, we realized that because we had to went through that process, we wanted to make sure that new players that enter the space don't have to go through the same tedious process. So ideally, in 1 to 3 years from now, we have been able to create something that would have been able to minimize that barrier, cut it down all the way to the easy access so that gamers who really just want to play can play. Because in the future, what we see is less of the finance. I mean, people who are looking for finance, like DeFi as example, would have been able to be glad to go through that process, for sure. Because if I know I can make money off this, and I have to go through this MetaMask thing, if I already have done DeFi, I can do GameFi. Right? At least the financial part of it. And then of course the finding of the players to play for you, the resources, that's a secondary thing. That also has an issue actually. But as long as we can get past the first half, the main primary target market that we believe should be the one predominantly playing the games, which are gamers, have easy access to this while all knowing that they're in safe hands in a curated space. I think that's what we are looking to achieve. So the end goal is gaming as one. Doesn't matter Web 2, doesn't matter in Web 3. I'm sure in the future, because of this revolution, some of the Web 2 games will also convert to having a sort of monetized model.
Yeah, I mean, you see it happening already.
Yeah, and they'll be more open about it, right? I also really admire the co-creation model that has happened recently. Like, I think Roblox, Minecraft has paved the way for a lot of co-creators. We see that often in Dota workshop as well, whereby you can create skins and get monetized of it. But the future of gaming, I believe, doesn't belong to game developers alone.
No.
Because there are other contributors, be in the form of streamers and competitive players like you. Because you bring people to the scene. If you think about it, today as a gamer, I want to look for idol to follow. I'll follow people like you. Because you know your stuff, you're engaging when you stream. I want to watch you. And that's where gamers actually get a lot of their marketing from. Because I'm not going to play an MMORPG as a single player, no matter how fun it is. Because that defeats the whole purpose of an MMORPG, right? And content creators, or even in-game creators, for whatever contribution they have, I see a more fair playing ground for game developers to not like abuse or like neglect such people. And that's where I think the whole space will move to. And because of that, ease of entry, fair reward system, recognition, I think that's the right way for games to pay for it. Because actually, if you think about how sports is, it actually is like that. It eventually evolves into such a scenario. You know, I mean, soccer is like, no one created it. If you think about it, no one created soccer. As in, no organization owns soccer. But it's such a worldwide loved game. I have a hope that eventually esports can one day hit that level. Like Minecraft is, even though by Microsoft, but it's no longer recognized as Microsoft. It's like everyone's game. Yeah, something like that in the future. And when that happens, when everyone's a part of a game somehow, maybe my grandparents don't even realize they're playing a game, but they're playing Minecraft, for example. Yeah, that's a future that I would want to live in. Yeah. And for Promisphere, we're just happy to be the guiding light to make people like stay on the right path, in sense whereby we try to see and sieve out good projects so that people can participate in a very safe space, so that they don't get burned along the way. Because it's hard to get people who lose faith in games. Yeah. Once they think something is bad, they're like, it's harder to get a second chance, right? So we want to pave that way, build a community strong enough to be able to be that guiding light for them. Well, that's for me, and I'm not sure about what do you see for yourself in the space, or Not just promise you, I think for even for you.
To be fair, I haven't quite thought that far.
Oh,
For me, honestly, this whole thing has been a learning process for me. I mean, this is a very new space, and I'm learning all the
myself
time.
as well,
Yeah, all the time. So really just taking it kind of day by day, week by week, slowly at a time. But for now, I'm just enjoying the process, learning about the space, games, and just DeFi in general. Actually, I'm a bit more interested in DeFi also. But yeah, I just want to have exposure to the space and learn about it. And then
Correct.
yeah.
And actually, when you speak of DeFi, there's actually a connections from DeFi to gaming itself.
Yep.
Because like the whole idea of why GameFi started, I believe in the future is also because games like Lost Ark, they don't allow resources or money to go out of the system. Once you have invested $100 in, it's forever $100 in. You're never gonna get back. But this whole idea of GameFi and Web3, you kind of want. Let's say one day you do decide to quit Lost Ark, that you want to be able to sell your items and sell your gold and sell your silver and all your other equips for something, so that you know that you have spent some time and you get something back for like the hundreds of hours that you have synced in the game. And this whole concept also aligns very well with DeFi itself, which essentially DeFi and NFT itself, which essentially all the assets that you own is yours. That's one. And two is that you are able to sell it off whenever you want. And I myself also do hope that one day there will be such revolution where games will become games that everything you play is owned by you, and you are able to do whatever you want with the asset. Should you be able to sell, you don't have to, like, there's always this concept where they make fun of real money transactions, where they say that the only way to get real money transaction is you have to meet someone in a cave in World of Warcraft, and then you cannot talk to him, and then you do the transfers, and then you just disappear, and the other guy logs off and everything, and it sounds so shady and everything, but eventually all of us players, or what we just want is, like, let's say we are able to get a little bit more pocket money. Even for some, like, there are a lot of kids that sink a lot of time into the game, and if they could maybe just earn $10 a day just to buy maybe more McDonald's meals, or maybe like treat their mom or dad to a more scrumptious meal after hours of gaming in front of a computer, who wouldn't want to do that? But for now, there's so much I don't know, control over the game itself, for lack of a better word, that you are not able to do that. So like, even if a kid plays 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours of Lost Ark, there's no way he's gonna get any financial or monetary value out of it, and that kind of sucks, like that gives his parents or more rights, or her parents more rights to say that, oh look, you spent $10,000, why not you just go and get a real job and everything, and that just breaks his heart, because all he's ever want to do is just play a game and enjoy and do something that he wants to enjoy, but he can't because of things like that. And eventually 10 years down the road, maybe you can see something like that in fruition for sure.
I think there are companies these days that are looking to like gamify their learning processes. Right, whereby they put some gaming elements into classes to make it more fun. Even things like this are considered games, right? And they know clearly that gamifying certain processes definitely capture the attention span of like the younger generation better. I think games can also even teach lessons like economics. And these are certain things that I feel you will never be able to put in textbooks unless you really experiment. And what better way to experiment than like a sandbox kind of situation whereby you put kids into like not necessarily a money-making game, but you could have theoretical currency inside the game whereby they learn. And maybe let's say, if this kid by the end of the week earns X amount of tokens, he can go to like exchange shop in real life and buy exchange for tidbits to teach them the real economics of this kind of thing. This essentially is a safe way to play, but I do think it still comes with games. You can't avoid that element, right?
Yeah.
You cannot say like, I want to teach my kid economics. You sweep the floor and then you do this, you get 5 tokens. I don't think the kid will be like too incentivized. But if you tell him in the game, if you slay this monster and you do that, he'll be okay. I got this. I'm going on this quest. There's this emergent thing.
And even if he fails, he will learn. He will try and find more ways to be able to do it, and he will learn a lot more things, a lot more ways of critical thinking to be able to kill that monster.
Exactly. That might be a good future to think about. And hopefully, blockchain game can lead that path because of the way it currently is actually. Once again, I'd like to thank Marcus for joining us today. It was really very insightful to hear from you about Illuvium, what you think about blockchain gaming, your views, as well as like Autochess as well. I think we got to be even deeper and talk about like past gaming in the next few years as well. I think that's very insightful for audience to think about. because not many people view games the same way we do, right, as gamers. And of course, it's true that passion may be mistaken for addiction, but I still believe in passion.
It's a fine line. It's a fine line. Yeah.
Fine line. I still believe in passion. I mean, we are doing a business out of it, so it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Thanks once again for coming and watching our video all the way to the end. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. If you'd like to see more of this, please like, subscribe to our channel. Tell us what you want to see in the next video or who you want us to host on the next time. And with that, I think we'll see you online. Thank you.
Thank you guys.